number one port valve, your number one starboard valve. And the smaller ones have to give it an extra little name because it's a separate little system. This is the stripping valve. So this would be number one starboard stripper, number one center stripper, number one port stripper. And that little stripping valve has its own little pump, and we're going to use it to pump out the last bits in the cargo tank. Right? It's called the stripping line. And again, every cargo tank has a main and it has a stripping valve. So I want you to recognize this. You're going to be drawing this system out, so recognize what's the same with every tank and which one's a little bit odd. Where are the oddballs? For example, we said that this is a green below deck block. Well, if there's one in the green system, would it make sense that there would be one in the red system? There it is. Well, if it's good for the green and the red system, is there one in the yellow system? And the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is because all the yellow systems are aft anyway. All right, so we don't have a below deck yellow block valve. And that's what I want you to recognize as you're drawing this out. What's the same? It's going to be easier if you recognize what's the same and then isolate in your mind and in your drawing what's different and why is it different. Okay, so here we are. I open up the below deck green block valve. It goes down in through here. You can see it's kind of coming through here, going through the bulkhead, and now it's entering into 3 center. Now here's something that's odd. Here's something that's odd. You see this valve here? Crossover valve, and we have a crossover valve. Do you see that any place else out on deck? Kind of sweep it a little bit. Do you see any other below deck crossover valves like this? That's unique, because as you follow your pipeline down into 3 center, you have to go through this crossover valve, keep this crossover valve closed to be able to allow the cargo to get to your 3 center valve. Well, that's unique. That's unique to the system, and there's a reason for it. What it's saying, what this is allowing you to do, again, remember versatility versus complexity. This makes the system more complex, but it gives you versatility. So for example, I can fill up this tank, 3 center, with what's coming into the green system or with what's coming into the red system. I chose this for a reason. In other words, I can have 1 extra red tank and 1 less green tank in the system, and it's 3 center. By loading 3, you have the least amount of effect on your trim. It's the closest to the fulcrum right here. It's right here, so it allows the ship to load straight down. So, for example, if you have your load planned out to be down by the stern and you still have more cargo to put in, you could put it into number 3 center, and you'll have limited effect on your trim. So a lot of times 3 center, for example, will be the last tank that you want to load as you're bringing your ship down to her marks. In other words, bringing it down to your load line that you want to load on. So we've chosen 3 center for that reason. But again, it makes it difficult. And because we have 2 crossover valves here, you can easily contaminate what's going into 3 center. If this valve is open and you've got diesel coming down the red system, you've got gasoline coming into the green system, this valve is arbitrarily left open. What's going into 3 center, not only what's going into 3 center is going to be contaminated, but what's going in on both the red and the green system are going to be a mixture of gasoline and diesel. Probably not what the company wants. So we have to be very, very careful about how we set up our crossover valves. And then we go into our tank. So, let's see if it works. I have my tank here shoreside. I've got it opened up for JP5. We're actually loading JP5 into the tank, into the tanker. It's coming down the green line here. coming through here. Here's my green manifold, the short side manifold. And then as I follow this pipeline around like here, it goes right into our ship manifold. Now before I ask for cargo, I always want to make sure my tanks are laid out correctly. Always, always, always give cargo a place to go. Do not put pressure into the system until you're ready to receive it. And by having the system wide open for receiving cargo, you're not going to have a pressurized system going into it. So the last valve I'm going to open up is going to be my manifold valve. We said we wanted to have the manifold red-green crossover closed. That is closed. We want to make sure that that green block valve, above deck block valve, right, is closed, and it's not. Somebody left it open. The green manifold block valve is closed. Let's see, we wanted the drop valve, the green drop valve open. That's allowing cargo to come down here. I want to make sure that it can't go into number ones, so they're closed. Let's see, the next valve, that's closed. The next valve, as we followed it down, the green below deck block valve needs to be open. Which allows the cargo to go down the green system. Now, we did say that these are red-green below-deck crossover valves, but we need to add to it because this is the starboard side one, that's the port side. So the red-green below-deck starboard side crossover needs to be open. And it is, and the port side needs to be closed. Now the cargo, basically, if you look at the pipeline, it's right between these two valves that leads to this three-center valve. It opens that up. Now, just to make sure that it's not going any place I don't want it to go, I look at the valves that should be closed that are on the system that can now be reached. 5 starboard is closed. And 5 port is closed. So the green system is now ready to load into 3 center. Cool. The only valves that we don't have open yet is the short side valve and our green manifold valve. Now, before I tell the shore to give me cargo, I say, okay, shore, I'm ready to receive. You open up your manifold valve. The shore will acknowledge that they're ready to receive. You'll open up their valve, and if we have it all lined up properly, cargo should be coming in. Kind of rehash that for a minute. What's open? The short side valve, the manifold valve is open. Now you're not concerned about the shore side. That's the shore guy's job. You want to make sure that the shore guy is part of your team. That person is controlling the flow of cargo. All right? So when you get to the point where you have no place left for cargo to go, the shore guy needs to be on his game and keep him in the loop. Say, let's go ahead and start slowing the cargo down. We would slow it down here. Go ahead, shore, stand by to shut down, and then you close your valves. Because if you close down your valves before you shut the shore down, the whole system goes under pressure, and you don't want that. So the shore person, the reason the shore person's there is part of your team. He's not part of your crew, but he's part of your team. All right, first valve, the green manifold valve, open. The red-green manifold crossover valve, closed. The green above deck block, closed. Green drop, open. Now that would allow, if I opened up these valves now and started cargo flowing, cargo could go into ones. So let's close number 1 starboard, 1 center, and 1 port, or let's just make it an easy call, 1 across. Let's make sure 1 across is closed. Now the pipeline goes down the green drop and it goes through your green below deck block valve. Green below deck block valve. Follow that past. If we don't go here, it can actually now, cargo can get all the way back down to 5 wings. There's nothing stopping it anymore. It can go all the way back to 5 wings. So we have to make sure 5 wings are closed. The red-green below deck starboard crossover valve, which allows now the cargo to go into 3 center by opening up your number 3 center valve, and that's the flow when we're loading. Those terms are really important. We want to keep them as short and as concise as possible because you're talking over the radio and radios can get twisted around. Your verbiage can get twisted around on a radio. The wind might be blowing into the radio. You may have people chattering over your radio. You want to make sure that the person on the other side of that radio is receiving the information that you're giving them. Give it to them short and in short blasts. So make sure that it's short and concise. The last thing you want to do is have somebody say, "What'd you say? Can you repeat that?" All right? That just confuses things. So we have to be on our game and we use the same terminology as we go along here. Okay.